You might hear from the prophets of doom and gloom that, boy, our younger generations is going astray, how they are going to face the challenge of television, nudity, sex, gays, homosexual, and so on. But mashallah, our youth are succeeding in every field. Let me introduce to you first speaker for today, Mazen Asbahi. Mazen has been always involved in the youth, in the MENA programs and other camp programs.
I read something very interesting recently which deals with loyalties. The name of the article was Secular Education and Political Socialization of Muslim Children by Professor Hakim Rashid of Howard University. He discussed the need of the implementation of Islamic education, based Western secular system, and I'll quote from him, "As a secular education system promotes loyalty to the nation as the highest good, Muslim children are in essence being forced to deny the veracity of the Quran and ignore its supremacy over any law or ideology imposed by the nation states," unquote. Thus, even at the elementary school level, our loyalties, or as Professor Rashid puts it, political socialization, is being determined. An excellent case in point is, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, etc.
Muslim children must feel comfortable arguing the supremacy of Sharia over man-made laws. Muslim children must feel comfortable advocating shura over simple majority rule. And Muslim children must feel comfortable with the Islamic worldview that argues in an uncompromising fashion that the law of Allah, as articulated in the Quran, supersedes the law of Western man.
And like Brother Mazen was already saying it, that you have to get involved and send your children where their Muslim friends are. Don't send them to the Christians and the Jews' birthday parties. Don't send them to their Christmas parties, but try to get them involved into the Muslim activities. So I would introduce Javed Shah to come here and speak.
Within the Ummah, the Prophet and Allah has assigned certain duties, and that is the question before us today. What is the challenge of the specific segment of society we are discussing, the youth? There's little doubt that one of our main objectives is to call people to Allah. There's no question about that. But this is a small part of our da'wah. And what we have to understand in a broader sense is what is the challenge of the wider ummah, and what place does the youth play in that challenge? What responsibility do the youth in the 20th century and here in North America have towards their ummah? And from that point we can go to the question of the challenges that they face while they grow up. If we are to move towards a state of perfection, I think we have to recognize we don't have that state right now. We don't have a state of perfection within the ummah. I submit that there are three essential elements which are needed for success. And this is the responsibility of every youth to have within themselves. And this is the challenge that they face. They need conviction, number one. Number two, they need brotherhood and sisterhood. And number three, they need power. Everything in life is based upon some sort of conviction. In Islam, we call that conviction iman. The second very important challenge is one of brotherhood. MENA is doing a fantastic job in that. I've seen people come from MENA conventions and conferences, and they have all sorts of new friendships and ties. And there's a network that's building. Whether or not you know it, there's a network that's building on the underground all over this country and all over this continent. And inshallah, I hope, in 5 or 10 years, when things come to fruition, these people will take over, and inshallah, they'll be a source of light for the entire ummah. This network is very important and must continually be built. The third, very important, and I think perhaps maybe the most neglected aspect of success and change, and the challenge, is called al-quwwa, power. The truth cannot be propagated without power. You don't have strength to protect yourself, you don't have strength to propagate, you won't be able to do it, no matter how great your message is. What I mean by strength is something much broader than just iman. I mean economic strength. I mean strength in terms of money. I mean weapons. I mean everything. And it's a challenge for the Muslim youth, I believe, to go to the very highest level in any field of study. If you reach a position where you are over top of people rather than subservient to them, believe me, the amount of change you can do is much, much more. And I have no qualms in saying this, though maybe I shouldn't say it here, but we also have to have physical strength in terms of military strength. And the youth should not take this, especially the brothers, they shouldn't take it secondarily. The Prophet ﷺ, he taught that. The Quran said that. وَأَعِدُّوا لَهُمْ مَا اسْتَطَعْتُمْ مِنْ قُوَّةٍ وَمِنْ رِبَاطِ الْخَيْلِ تُرْهِبُونَ بِهِ عَدُوَّ اللَّهِ وَعَدُوَّكُمْ. Prepare yourselves. Get ready. Is it so unreasonable for us to think that one day, as youth, that one day we wouldn't be in Palestine fighting? It says in this specific ayah that one should prepare himself as much as he's able to the extent of his abilities. And if I could just digress a little bit, Afghanistan is one of those examples where people just prepared up to their abilities and see what the result was. Now these three things, I'm sure that I'm going over time, these three things are very, very important and they have to be gathered within ourselves. But is this something which I personally elucidated myself? I came to this conclusion sitting down at night and saying, well, these are the three things that I think will be the remedy of the ummah. Is this what the youth have to be, is this the challenge which the youth face? I refer you again to one specific story. And it's a date that I hope that every youth has etched deep inside their hearts. The date is February 12th, 1949. Does any of you guys know what happened on that day? Does anyone know? I was talking to some brothers down here before. On that specific day, I take you to Rome, Italy. And I report this story on the authority of Sheikh Abdul Hamid Kishk. In Rome, Italy, he narrates that one of his friends was there on that specific night. And then, deep in the night, they heard the bells ringing. Ringing and ringing deep in the night. And he started to wonder, you know, what is this? Why this celebration all of a sudden? And he went down and he started asking around. And people were dancing in the streets. There was all sorts of diplomats shaking hands and hugging. What was it that happened on this night that brought about this amount of rejoicement? So he stopped the man and he asked him, and he said, well, why all this partying? And the man told him, haven't you heard the news? Hassan Albanna has been cut down in the streets of Cairo, and we are tasting the sweet feeling of joy and success. Imam Hassan Albanna was the one who elucidated these principles. Do you know who Imam Hassan Albanna was? He was a man who taught Islam to be a deenun kamilun, a complete religion, a complete way of life. He taught that Islam was not just a religion, but a deen and a dawla. He taught it to be everything. And that was why he was cut down. If you'd like to understand what was the basis of his elucidation, then again I take you back to Ismailiyya, 1928 Egypt, when Hassan al-Banna was a 22-year-old young man. He looked at the ummah, he looked at Palestine, he looked all across the ummah, and he was in a state of deep depression. Finally, he stood up in that small population center in Ismailiyya in Egypt, and he called out to those Muslims that stood out before him, and to all the Muslims across the ummah. He looked at them and he took the Quran, the mushaf of the Quran, high up in his right hand, and he yelled out to them, Ayyuhan nas, at-tariq ha huna. At-tariq ha huna. This is the way. This is the only way. Sadaqallahu al-Azim. And that is the challenge the Muslim youth face, to be that specific example. Brothers and sisters, dear youth, we face a very gigantic challenge. And we are in need of a generation of people who recognize and remember their responsibilities, who rally around the message of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We are in need of a generation of individuals who rise up in the night and they pray, and during the day they do good deeds. We are in need of a generation of people who don't bicker over trivial issues, but look at the further, or the utmost goal, the highest goal, and continue to strive and struggle for achieving that goal. We are in need of a group of individuals who begin to emulate the companions of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and in order that perhaps we may be that generation. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. I say these words and ask Allah to forgive me.
Let's hear it a little bit louder. Let's hear this. Takbir! Takbir! Jazakallahu bikhair. Brother Javed Shah has given us three very important points. First and foremost thing is to conviction to our aqidah, our religion, our belief, and our faith. And second thing is the brotherhood and the sisterhood. I will not forget that about sisterhood. And the third is the empowerment that we have to get ready, be prepared. Before we are attacked, we should be ready to defend ourselves.
I keep addressing you all as if you're all youth, you know. But we have the coolest religion in the world. Like really, the coolest people in the world are Muslims. Believe me, you just name them off: Malcolm X, Hassan, Albanna, Syed, Qutb. Coolest people in the world. I mean, these people, they stand up for justice. They fight for truth, you know. And it's all based upon knowledge, their understanding. We have a very great religion. And if the youth can come to understand that, they're going to do and achieve great things. There's no question about it. And it's a question of having heroes as well. Like, who are the heroes of the youth? I mean, these people are people who are interested in knowledge and understanding. Who are the heroes of this society? Like, there's this guy, what's his name, MC Hammer? You see the pants that guy? Well, maybe that's... the heroes of this society are a joke, you know? MC Hammer and I don't know who else. There's Michael Jackson. Who knows what he is, you know? And like, these are the heroes of the society, and people who, like, if you start emulating those people, you become like them. Like, if you really like them, then you start behaving like them, start getting haircuts like them, and then, you know. So it's a question of heroes as well. Like, we should try and understand who it is that brought this religion to us, and what type of individuals they are. And when you stand up to pray, whether at McDonald's or on the side of a street or wherever, you stand up proud because you're a Muslim. And it's all, again, a question of knowledge.